Tennessee, Texas, they end up rolling through some Power 4 teams. While Notre Dame, well, they end up losing to a Group of 5 team. It's football, bro. We're going to talk about all that and more today. If you want to check out the audio version of this, then it's on podcasts and platforms. Just check the link in the description. Let's go ahead, get into this sucker. Talking, well, Texas, Michigan, that was the watch-along game we started the week out with. And it kind of went as expected. And I say as expected because to be fair, see, even Gojo knows, man. Gojo had a terrible time with this. So you had Texas. I think initially they started a -6.5 favorite. They got betted up to, I think, about 7.5. And going into the year, I didn't anticipate Michigan's offense to be this bad. After week 1, I was like, okay, they're in trouble. I kind of like that +6.5 or that -6.5 number now for Texas. I think there's a possibility that this game could end up looking like what Georgia and Clemson looked like week 1, where it was maybe the Texas offense starts off slow, Michigan can't move the football, but the defense is doing its job, and then it gets away from them in the second half. The defense gets gassed. But no, I mean, Texas just came out. They drove. I think their first drive, they initially missed a field goal. But eventually, they were up 24-3 at halftime. Quinn Ewers looked great in this game. He ended up throwing for 3 tutties. Had a 75% adjusted completion percentage. Very solid. Kind of saw all the traits that what people believe why he's a first-round pick in this game and why he's trending this way, and that's kind of important in this draft class. Speaking of which, because I mean I'm a draft channel, so I like looking at these games and seeing how it may affect the draft. And you look at, we'll talk about it later when we get to the stock report, but like there weren't a lot of good quarterback performances. A lot of quarterbacks kind of took a hit. So yeah, big performance by Quinn Ewers. They came in with a great game plan. Throw away from Will Johnson. Will Johnson was only targeted once in this game, and it worked. Gunnar Helm had a big game. You saw some good stuff from Matthew Golden. I mean, Isaiah Bond didn't really have to get involved, but he was there. He made a couple of plays. The offense was unstoppable there for the Longhorns. Texas defense only could do so much, right? They could only do so much. Did I say Michigan? Michigan's defense. And to be fair, I think they did a solid enough job, but folded a lot earlier than I anticipated. Michigan's in trouble, man. Michigan's in trouble. What is this offense? They hopefully have a get-right game next week against Arkansas State, but man, things aren't looking promising right now. They're just not. I mean, we could take a look at that offensive line for Michigan. I thought, for the most part, they played all right, aside from like the right side of the offensive line. But it's not like they got good quarterback play. I honestly don't think it matters. Like, their quarterback room's just trash right now. I don't think it matters who's throwing the ball back there. Warren, high completion percentage, adjusted completion percentage, that is, but only took a couple of shots, and the couple of shots he took were kind of like dangerous throws. Like, I'm kind of shocked he didn't have a turnover-worthy play or a turnover-worthy throw, because I thought a few of those definitely could have been, like, they were into tight windows. And to be fair, I'm not super familiar with Davis Warren outside of that Fresno game. I don't know if he's a guy that is capable of making those throws. I don't know what his arm is at, but I'm just gonna say, against Texas, it didn't look all that good. Everybody loves the NFL draft, and I know you want to be familiar with every potential prospect that your team may draft. So I got good news for you. My draft guide is available for purchase. It is good throughout the entire draft cycle, and it updates through the season regularly. You'll get my current evals and rankings on hundreds of different players with player backgrounds and analytics. It also contains combine and pro day numbers, as well as my notes from the Senior and Shrine Bowl. You can purchase it for a one-time payment of $30 on PayPal, Venmo, and now I have the Cash App. Follow the link in the description and be sure to include your email because it is a Google spreadsheet. That is how I share it with you. So please don't make me hunt down your email. Just don't do it. Anywho, it's a great purchase and it's a great way to support the channel. But let's go ahead. Let's keep this sucker rolling. Let's move to Florida. South Florida versus Alabama. Alabama ends up winning 42-16, but golly gee willikers, it was a hell of a lot closer than that. As Bama, man, this game at one point was 14-3. And Bama ends up scoring 28 in the fourth quarter, and it was maybe 8-10 minutes left in the ball game before Bama's offense really started going, really started rolling, so to speak. But I get it. Their left tackle was out. You moved Tyler Booker to left tackle. He was all right. He obviously didn't look comfortable. There were a few times he got beat and beat bad, but the pressure wasn't terrible. I mean, there were some points like that right tackle for Bama didn't have a great day. We could pull it up now, but I mean, when you're committing, the offensive line committed 11 penalties. 11 of the 13 penalties committed by Bama. Kind of rough. Here, I got it pulled up now. Let's take a look at this Bama right tackle. Allowed 4 pressures, a win rate of 93%. Not all that great. But yeah, man, he committed 4 penalties. You had the left guard commit 4 penalties. You had 2 penalties from Tyler Booker. Again, Booker, first time playing left tackle, I believe. I know he's got the size and movement skills, honestly, to probably do well out there. But I mean, this was his first start. This was a team that gave Bama trouble last season. I mean, it felt like at some points Bama just got out physicaled, you know? South Florida came to play, and honestly, if they could have thrown the ball, there's a good chance they could have won this game. I mean, fortunately, Bama turns it on at the end, get a couple of big plays from Jalen Milroe. Jam Miller had a couple of big runs late, and they're able to pull away, but you're not feeling great if you're an Alabama fan. You're at least going into next week with a little bit of, how much trouble is Wisconsin going to give us? How much trouble? I have a feeling that this next game for Bama next week against Wisconsin, that they're going to pound Wisconsin. I know it's in Madison, but after this type of performance, you're like, all right, man, we got to be a cleaner team. We got to be a more disciplined team. We need to still be among the cream of the crop of the SEC, and we need to show that. We need to prove that. So it feels like a prove-it game for Bama. Honestly, if you don't win by more than 17 against Wisconsin, kind of feels like a letdown. But we'll see. Good performance by South Florida. It just got to a point where it was like, yeah, man, they can't move the ball through the air. I think they had maybe 100 some receiving yards, but kind of is what it is. All right, this was an abomination. This was probably the upset of the week. Northern Illinois goes in to South Bend and beats ranked 5 Notre Dame. 16-14. Dude, I was just watching SEC shorts earlier. Time of college football playoff death for Notre Dame this past Saturday. September 7th, 2024. Time of death. Golly, dude. It was rough. They got out physicaled. Like, the offensive line necessarily didn't play a bad game when it came from like a pass protective standpoint, but they didn't help with the run game. Like, the offensive line was not really generating any movement when it came to the run game. I felt like Northern Illinois, they came to play. They played physical and played well enough to win this game. It was absolutely insane. And we'll talk about Riley Leonard when we get to the stock report, because this game was ugly. It was ugly for Riley Leonard. It was bad. I mean, we could briefly go over it real quick, as he had an adjusted completion percentage of 67.7%, 2 turnover-worthy throws, obviously the 2 interceptions, threw for 163. Like, this team didn't want to test downfield. It maybe took a couple of shots downfield, but there's no big play ability from this squad. There's not. And it showed. Like, Northern Illinois, they filled the box. They sold out to stop the run. And they did a hell of a good job at it. Like, when it came to the running game, like they should have ran with Jeremiah Love more. Like, he was playing a good football game, but they just got themselves in bad third down opportunities. And dude, Ethan Hampton, it's not like he did anything like special in this game. Like, he only had 5 rushes for 21 yards. When it came to actually the passing game, like, he had 198. But like, Northern Illinois never stopped running the football. They never got away from the run game. And they end up winning the game, man. They end up winning the freaking ball game because of it. Like, this was if you've seen the post-game speech by the Northern Illinois head coach, talks about how this is a veteran team, guys who've been there for a long time, and it kind of showed. So you gotta, like, maybe there's a bit of a maturity theme there, because like, the Notre Dame defense, very mature. When you look at the offense, you got a ton of new names, some young players. Yeah, it's probably a maturity thing on offense. Riley Leonard, he ain't doing a solid job. He just isn't. I mean, again, the Notre Dame defense, they were fine. They were fine enough. They were fine enough to win this ball game. I mean, who ends up letting up the big pass? It was like right up the middle. I think that ended up being the linebacker for Notre Dame, which a little rough, but I mean, the defense played well. It's the Notre Dame offense, man. Hey, this is critical. This is bad. They can't throw the ball. They can't push the ball downfield. Teams are just going to stack the box, play the run. Riley Leonard. For me, I was like, yeah, I'm Riley Leonard. I'm not as high as some people are on him. And he's showing just that. Not a great showing here for Notre Dame. They've fallen down a lot of people's polls. I'll talk about it when I get to my top 25. We got the game that was on Peacock. Boise State almost upsetting Oregon. Golly, if not for Oregon special teams, this very much could have been a loss. This very much could have been a big L for Oregon. Dude, Ashton Genty, that's a first-round caliber running back. Leads the league. I think he leads college football in touchdowns, rushing yards, and forced missed tackles, I believe. Absolute stud. When it came to the quarterback play for Boise State, that's kind of where the letdown was. Madsen didn't complete a lot of passes. Kind of threw some balls up, hoping his receivers can make plays on the ball. And you're not gonna have a functioning passing game when you do that. I mean, he was able to extend a few drives and hit a few big plays, but I mean, for the most part, this was hand the ball off to Genty. Let him work. And it kind of felt like they should have done more of that. You look at Madsen's adjusted completion percentage, 55.9%. 2 turnover-worthy throws. Like, it wasn't good. 17 of 40. He had a couple of drop balls by his receivers, but honestly, nothing I'm too worried about. But Oregon's offense, what the hell are we doing here, guys? Like, okay, Boise State was able to generate some pressure, but Dillon Gabriel missed a couple of big shots. And that's saying something for a guy who went 18 for 21. 2 of his incompletions came on the same drive back to back, and they were both long plays. One would have been to hold in for at least a first down, possible touchdown. I think that was actually the second one to convert on third down. The first one was Evan Stewart, who already hit. Well, both him and Holden had big plays in this game, but Evan Stewart, you didn't even have to lead him. He would have been running into the end zone. Instead, you force him to make a dive and play. Like, Dillon Gabriel, get it together downfield. Those were easy shots. You just had to put a little more under the football. Oregon escapes here, and you're kind of worried. Because last week for Oregon, you could pin a lot of this on the offensive line, right? You could pin a lot of this on the offensive line. Be like, okay, we need to be a little bit better in the trenches. And then come this game, it's like, oh, wow, we can't stop the run. What the hell's going on? Like, we're generating a really good pass rush. Like, Birch had a really good game for Oregon. But where was the run defense? Where art thou, run defense? Wasn't great. Oregon needs to figure out things quick. I tweeted or X'd, I don't know what they call it, posted on X, that do we believe that this Oregon team can beat Ohio State even if the game's in Eugene, which it is. And I don't believe that right now with Oregon. I don't believe that right now. Bowling Green, they almost upset Penn State. I've only seen clips of that game. I can't really talk too much about it, but with Bowling Green, they had some significant players out on offense, as you had the running back, Terrion Stewart. I was looking forward to this game. I was really looking forward to this game. For Terrion Stewart, he ends up, I don't think he made it through the first set of warm-ups. And then you had a couple of wide receivers out for Bowling Green. It sounds like they just got, like, again, I've only seen the clips of this game, but it sounds like Bowling Green was physical. They came in willing to play and almost made it not such a happy time in Happy Valley. But I'm looking forward to being able to get back to this game a little bit later this week. Got good news. I should comment on this. When it came to Utah, you had Cam Rising. He ends up leaving the game in the first half. He runs into a couple of the cooler jugs there on the sideline. Leaves the game with an apparent hand injury. Sounds like he's fine, so nothing to worry there. All right, this was our second watch-along game of the day. It was Tennessee versus NC State. I wanted to get a good look at Nico, and Nico played all right. He played all right. He had a couple of bad throws, but he had an all right game. Oh, he had the pick six. Yeah, he got hit as he threw the football. It is what it is. He made a couple of big plays. Tennessee leaned on the run game. I don't care about the offense when it comes to Tennessee. And that became very apparent early in this game, as Tennessee's defense is going to be a problem for teams. Tennessee's defense came to play. Like, I'll talk about a guy in the stock report, but like that whole defensive line, that defensive front, they came out, they created loads of pressure. They consistently stopped the run. If Tennessee's going to have a top tier defense, This offense just has to be adequate, and you know what? It's way more than that. They could run the football so freaking well. You had Samson. He ends up going for what? 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. Freaking phenomenal. Nico, again, I said Nico didn't have like the best game. Ended up having a 69.6 adjusted completion percentage. He had 1 turnover worthy play on the interception where I think he lost. Was it? No, that was Grayson McCall. Trying to remember what his other interception, the non-pick 6 was. Regardless, like, it wasn't a clean game from him, but you saw what made him special. He made a couple of big plays there for the Tennessee offense, and I think he's going to be special as the year goes on. He's just going to continue to develop and become better and better and better and better. He's really, really that good. But when it comes to this defense, man, this defense won't stop. It won't stop. You had James Pierce. He had 3 pressures in this game. Dominic Bailey, 3 pressures and a sack. Omar Norman Lott, he had 2 pressures and a sack. You had a few guys that had a variety of pressures. I'm going to talk about Amari Thomas a little bit later. But golly, dude, they came to play. This team was swarming the run, and they were good against the pass. Tennessee's a problem. They deserve to be a top 10 team for shadowing when it comes to my college football top 25. But NC State, they felt out of and this was a home game for NC State. They just felt out of depth immediately. Couldn't run the football. Grayson McCall constantly under pressure. They were able to get the ball early to Concepcion, but that didn't last. I think he had 3 receptions on the opening drive. Ended up having, I think, 2 receptions for the rest of the game. Tennessee just did a really good job there. Oklahoma had a little bit of a scare against Houston. That's not a great Houston team, but they're well coached. They have Donovan Smith. Oklahoma, I wish I could say they have a get-right game next week, but they don't. I think it's against, isn't it against Tulane? They're going up against next week. Let me take a quick gander. Yeah, it's Tulane. So, okay, man. What you going to do, Oklahoma? So this right here, I believe, is the last game I want to actually talk about. Because I went back and I watched the essentially the first 3.5 quarters of this Arkansas-Oklahoma State game. I did end up on the stream, watching in the final drive and OT. But I went back and I wanted to watch this game. And Arkansas should have won this game. They were the better team on this day. Arkansas ends up falling victim to their own mistakes. Whether it was like the muffed punt, you had a 3rd down ended by a goofy pitch play, and they just kept shooting themselves in the foot. But the offense, they were alive, dude. Freaking Taylon Green out there was slinging the football. 3 big-time throws for over 416 yards. When you look at the running game, you got 149 yards from Jaquindon Jackson. You had 89 more rushing yards from Jalen Green. But, turnovers end up costing them. And, Arkansas's defense played relatively well. You'd be like, okay, they weren't great through the air, but they were fine enough. They forced Oklahoma State to have to win through the air. Ollie Gordon only had 49 yards in this game. That's kind of nuts. That's kind of wild. When it comes to the Arkansas defense, it's not like they were really getting pressure, but they were able to put guys in and around the box and made an effort, be like, all right, we're not going to lose to Ollie Gordon. Alan Bowman, hey, you are in your 7th year of college football. You're going to have to win this game. And he was fine. He had a solid enough game. But yeah, man, Arkansas really should have won this game. It was really sad. I did, in one of my parlays, I did take Arkansas money line. I should have took I think they were plus 9.5. That ended up being the right number there. Should have took that. Obviously, Oklahoma State, they end up winning the game. Ollie Gordon finally getting into the end zone, breaking off a good run. In second overtime, they get the 2-point conversion, send the lead to 8. Arkansas State, this killed me. This freaking killed me. You had also Taylor Green take some bad sacks. Like the one on third down, I think it was in the first overtime, where he's just scrambling. And it's like, dude, just chuck the ball away. Give your kicker a shot. Because like Oklahoma State's kicker ends up missing the field goal. You hit that first kick in OT, you win the game. So Taylor Green, he's growing as a quarterback. I look forward to seeing more of him. He's very interesting potential prospect. I don't know what his draft eligibility is at. Imagine he's like he's got eligibility to 2026. No, he's going to be this year. I'm intrigued. Maybe I'm going to go back and watch me some Taylor Green, add him to the watch list. Maybe I'll go back and do that. Everybody loves the NFL draft, and I know you want to be familiar with every potential prospect that your team may draft, so I got good news for you. My draft guide is available for purchase. It is good throughout the entire draft cycle, and it updates through the season regularly. You'll get my current evals and rankings on hundreds of different players with player backgrounds and analytics. It also contains combine and pro day numbers, as well as my notes from the Senior and Shrine Bowl. You can purchase it for a one-time payment of $30 on PayPal, Venmo, and now I have the Cash App. Follow the link in the description and be sure to include your email because it is a Google spreadsheet. That is how I share it with you. So please don't make me hunt down your email. Just don't do it. Anywho, it's a great purchase and it's a great way to support the channel. Starting with my fallers, teams that took L's this week. You had UTSA getting blown out. I had them as a 2-loss team. Think they're still obviously in contention here for the AAC, but they get blown out by Texas State 49-10. They get Texas this week. I did have Texas as a loss, but I think for the most part, they're going to have to be relatively perfect after that Texas L. Look at that. I'm already speaking it into existence. So if they're going to win the American. And then Kansas. Golly, I'm going to talk about Jalen Daniels when we get to the stock report, but it was a good game. It was a physical game. It was a close game. Kansas ends up losing 23-17 to Illinois. I want to see Illinois for a couple of more games before I put them into that top 25 contention. Currently, the teams that I have just missed it are Rutgers, dude. I'm a big fan of Rutgers. I root for Rutgers. I'm a big Kyle Monangai guy. He goes for over 200 this past weekend against, who was it? It was Akron. They end up winning 49-17. I think they could potentially be a problem. This is a team that brought back some quality starters from last year's squad. They can be a problem. I think they could be maybe an 8, even a 9-win team. So watch out. South Carolina, they end up beating down Kentucky. Like, this defense for South Carolina can carry them. They just need the offense to do a little something. And they were able to do a little something in this ball game, beating Kentucky 31-6. I believe that was even in Lexington, nonetheless. So kind of wild there. But yeah, big win. They do take on LSU this upcoming week. So that could be the game that gets them into the top 25 for me. BYU. They beat SMU in an 18-15 ball game. Don't sleep on BYU, man. Don't sleep on BYU. Hey, we're here. We're in the Big 12. We want to be a problem. Dude, SMU. I think SMU might be a far worse team than I expected. I'll talk about it in a second. I also got Syracuse here. They're on the outside looking in. They're on a bye this week, but big win against Georgia Tech. This is at home. Kyle McCord putting up big numbers. I think he's got like 800 passing yards on the year through 2 games, but they beat Georgia Tech 31-28. Georgia Tech that's a good football team. Syracuse, they're putting their hat in the ring for a potential, hey, maybe we're gonna take a shot at the ACC. Watch out. UNLV. I've been talking about these guys non-stop. I think this is potentially who wins the Mountain West. We'll see. Boise State, they're very good too, so it's going to be close. But UNLV, they use the transfer portal exceptionally well. They have good players there. They blow up. I know it's Utah Tech, but they beat them 72-14. They get a Kansas team coming off a loss. Watch out. That could be a win that gets them into my top 25. Don't sleep on the Rebels. Don't sleep on them. Let's get to my college football top 25, starting at 25 with SMU. I still think they have the easiest schedule in the ACC. This was a bad loss. I really thought about just chucking them all together. But maybe they got a bye week coming up. Maybe they could get it together because, again, I still think they have a very promising schedule. But, I mean, dude, it wasn't even a 2-quarterback approach. Kevin Jennings was the guy Friday night for SMU. And it wasn't great. He had a couple of injuries, too. So, SMU, they're trending down. They're not as good as I thought they would be. Oklahoma, they're in here at 24. I get it. It wasn't pretty against Houston. They get Tulane this upcoming week. That's a pretty good Tulane team that almost beat Kansas State. So let's see if Oklahoma can do it. It just felt like they got bullied on the offensive line. But I think Arnold, he was still able to keep his cool and play well under pressure. You're kind of hoping more for the offense. You're just kind of hoping that, I mean, after how they just pummeled Temple, you expected this. I mean, I think Oklahoma was like a 20-point favorite in this game. You end up only winning 16-12. Let's see how they respond against a good Tulane team. At 23, Central Florida. I think they're a good squad. They get a tough matchup this week against also 2-0 TCU. We'll see how they handle that. But this is a team that's going to run the ball down your throat. They got some legit starters on the defense in like Lee Hunter, Ricky Barber. Like, they're pretty solid defensively. But that run game is terrifying, whether it's Penny Boone, I believe, whether it's RJ Harvey, who had a big game against Sam Houston this past week. They went 45-14. You got an experienced quarterback who's also dangerous with his legs in KJ Jefferson. Watch out. I like Central Florida, man. I like them. Toledo, they're doing Toledo things. They beat UMass 38-23. I do think they potentially get a loss here, but coming up against Mississippi State. But if they could beat Mississippi State, because that's not a great Mississippi State team, it's not, then they probably can hold fast here in my top 25. I do think they're probably going to be your MAC winners. So, but hey, Northern Illinois has entered the conversation. That's a team I just want to see more of before I just throw them on here. Believe me, I got my eye on Northern Illinois. I haven't forgotten about them. I just want to see a couple of more wins before I just pole vault them in my top 25. LSU here at 21. Oh man, Nichols was scared for a little bit. Well, they were up 23-14, I think, at halftime. Then finally, they were able to pull away. They end up winning 44-21. But it wasn't pretty. And now you get a mean South Carolina defense next week. Like, all right, LSU, let's see if you can put up or shut up. See if you can put up or shut up. Don't sleep on that South Carolina team. Don't do it. At 20, I got Oklahoma State. They survive against stinking Arkansas. They get Tulsa this weekend before the schedule, I think, starts to get hard for them. I believe, take a quick look at the schedule. I believe their difficult games come like back to back to back. After that Tulsa game, they're going to be taking on Utah. They head to Kansas State, and then they take on West Virginia. And then suddenly I'm saying, hey, maybe that at Baylor isn't such an easy game. So after this Tulsa game, we're going to find out if this Oklahoma State team is for real, because I don't know, part of me doesn't think they are. Good players on that team, but I don't know, maybe Arkansas is just way better than what people anticipated. At 19, USC, they got the job done against Utah State. They end up winning 48-0. They got a bye this week. Good for them. They deserve it. USC might be one of the best teams in the Big Ten with how this weekend went for teams like Michigan and Penn State. Clemson, they're here at 18. They came into this game pissed off. They beat a very solid Appalachian State team. But they came into this game like, that screw Georgia. They came into this game and was like, screw Georgia. They end up pulling starters, I think, at halftime. They win 66-20. They will have a bye this week. But, that's a better Clemson team than what we saw at Georgia. Like, that defense is pretty darn solid. The offense finally played well. We'll see if that continues in ACC play. Kansas State here at 17. Don't sleep on Tulane. Tulane almost did it again. Almost upsetted Kansas State for the second time in 3 years. But it wasn't meant to be. They end up holding on 37-20 or 34-27. They get Arizona this Friday. And Arizona has not looked good defensively or even this past week offensively. Notre Dame at 16. I might be the highest person on Notre Dame. I think they're down like either at 18 or 19 in most polls. I got them at 16. Listen, I think the schedule is still favorable. This team just has to figure it out offensively. Get your crap together. You have playmakers. Start pushing this ball downfield. Can you win downfield? I still believe this Notre Dame team is going to be at the very least a 9-win team. Maybe they're even 8 wins. But I don't know if you could. I don't know if you could take another L with like your worst loss being against Northern Illinois. I don't know. I still think they could probably win out and make the college football playoff. But at 10-2 with one of those losses being Northern Illinois, I don't think that'll be good enough to make the playoff. So Notre Dame, they're still on life support here at this juncture. At 15, I have Louisville. They rolled right by Jacksonville State, 49-14. They got a bye. They're going to be well rested going into week 4. Tyler Shuck, experienced quarterback, looking real good for him. Arizona, I do drop Arizona one spot. They end up beating Northern Arizona 22-10. It hasn't been pretty. It really hasn't. This Arizona team, I expected to be better than this. Like defensively, okay. I figured they'd be a little squishy, but they got an offense that could go against anybody in the nation. Is that true? You'll put up 22 against Northern Arizona? We're going to find out a lot about this Arizona team this Friday. I believe that game will be at home for Arizona. I could take a quick gander. As that game this Friday will be at home for Arizona. So we'll see. Liberty, man, they're able to snake out a victory against New Mexico State. To be fair, I believe they played New Mexico State twice last year, with one being in the conference Conference USA Championship game. So that New Mexico State team's better than it has been in years past. But still, Liberty didn't get a lead until 56 seconds left in the ball game. This Liberty team not as good as they were last year. It's still one of the easiest schedules in football, and I still believe they could probably go undefeated. But now the doubt is there. It's there. But they end up winning 30-24. They get UTEP this week. If they don't blow UTEP out, then freaking ring the alarms. Miami, they're at 12. I don't have them in the top 10 yet. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan. I love to you. Big win against Florida. They pound Florida A&M like they should. They end up winning, 52-9? 56-9. They get Ball State this week. Like, I feel like we learned a lot about them against Florida, but I want to see them against a couple of more powerhouse schools, or at least like power 4 schools. Let's wait till conference play starts before I really push them into that top 10, because that top 10 is pretty meaty. But I do have Michigan just ahead of them. I feel like I'm probably, I guess, I don't know. I'm high on these one-loss teams. I do think Michigan will get it together. Do I think they're going to beat Ohio State? Nope. But I think there's a chance they're still maybe going to win 9 or 10 games this year. So before I just bail completely on Michigan, like, again, that defense is still hella good. Before I bail completely on them, I'm gonna just keep them here for a little bit. I think you can make a good argument Miami should be ahead of them, and that might end. That maybe I change that next week. We'll see. But for now, I got them here at 11. And then at number 10, let me introduce you to the 10. Nope. Here we go. The Tennessee Volunteers. Yes. Impressive win by Tennessee at NC State. They blew a good ACC team out of the water, which, hey, that's more than I could say for Auburn. If you're making a parlay, DTA, don't trust Auburn. But Auburn out here getting stray shots. But Tennessee was phenomenal. I think the defense is legit, and the offense, the defense is so good, the offense can make a few mistakes and be A-okay. This Tennessee, I think, is a playoff caliber team. And I think they're probably going to compete for the SEC title. I mean, the SEC is really good, but I think there's a good chance that they end up competing for the SEC championship, with whether it be a Georgia, whether it be Bama, Ole Miss, Missouri. Like, they deserve their name among those teams. They're that good. Oregon, listen, they get Oregon State this week. I think Oregon State's a relatively solid team. They're more of a, hey, let's not get in our own way. Let's let the defense win the ball game. That's kind of where the team's at right now for Oregon State. So, in theory, you should be able to beat Oregon State by double digits. I don't know if that's the freaking case. I think this Oregon team's got a lot of talent. They just got to freaking figure it out. I don't believe that this team could beat Ohio State right now. Let's see how they are against Oregon State this weekend. Penn State, golly, man. That was hella scary against Bowling Green. They end up beating Bowling Green 34-27. They get a bye this week. That's right. Penn State, go in the corner and think about what you just did. After all that praise people were heaping on you again about your opener against West Virginia, you pull a stunt like this. You go and think about what you did. I have questions about the physicality along that defensive line, though. I think that might be serious. Mizzou, they're here at 7. They blew out Buffalo like they should. They win 38-0. Hold the phone. They get Boston College this weekend. That game might be closer than you anticipate. That game might be closer than you anticipate. Watch out. Mizzou might be in trouble against Boston College. Let's see if Boston College is legit. And then at number 6, I got Utah. Listen, the hand injury ends up sounding positive. Sounds like Cam Rising will be back. That's great. You want this team to stay healthy. They were completely just destroying Baylor before Cam Rising suffers the hand injury, which is great. It's great that this team was just rolling through Baylor. They should. Cam Rising comes out. Then they're just kind of like on, okay, let's just get the victory mode. He's going to be back. He's going to be healthy. You love to see it. They get Utah State this weekend. Let's go ahead to the top 5. Ole Miss. They ran right through Middle Tennessee 52-3, as they should. Good for them. They're putting up a lot of points. They get a Wake Forest team coming off a devastating loss to Virginia at the last second. So should be another big win for Ole Miss. Contemplating dropping Bama behind Ole Miss, but I don't know, man. Let's see how they do against Wisconsin. I don't like moving my polls drastically just week to week. Because, again, for my preseason polls, I go ahead, I project the season. And it's basically how I think teams are going to finish the year. So on the week-to-week basis, unless it's like a really bad loss, unless like it's, Notre Dame losing to South Bend to a MAC team, I'm not going to drastically drop you down the polls yet. So, and again, Alabama didn't lose. They just had a tough time for most of that game with South Florida. Again, they get Wisconsin. Let's wait and see. Again, I don't take this week to week. I don't change on a whim. That's not who I am. I'm not, hey, what's this week's flavor of ice cream? It's like, no. I made these projections. I have this team at this record. Okay, they can afford a loss or maybe a non-impressive victory here because I think they're going to be better by the end of the year. I'm not going to overreact. I don't overreact this stuff. That's the thing with football fans. They overreact to everything. Like when we talk about freaking the NFL tomorrow, there's going to be a ton of overreaction. Because fun fact, if you don't know, how you start the year isn't going to be how you necessarily finish it. Opinions will change. So if you're going to have a strong opinion out of the gate, be ready to be wrong by the end of the year. So that's what I'm just saying. Don't overreact. I did move up Texas considerably, though. I think they went from 9 in my polls to number 3. They beat your reigning, defending, not so undisputed college football champion in Michigan, in Ann Arbor. I think that's an impressive victory, especially with how they just controlled that game essentially from the get-go. Texas is legit. Texas is for real. So much so that I keep forgetting they're an SEC team, and I didn't even mention them. So, yeah, watch out for Texas. The SEC, fun fact, still really good. Still really good. As you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 of my top 10 are the SEC. It's a really good conference, guys. I don't know what to tell you. They get UTSA this week. Ohio State, they're going to be going on a bye, but hey, they won 56-0 against Western Michigan. They're beating teams they should. That's good. Let's see how they'll do once conference play starts. They will get a seemingly supposed to be, it should be a tough game in Eugene against Oregon. I'm not out on Oregon, guys. That's a team with a lot of talent. I want to make that very clear. I'm not out on Oregon. And then Georgia, they blow out Tennessee Tech. They have fun. 48-3. They get Kentucky this week. Suddenly that Kentucky team looks really bad. really, really bad. So they're probably going to blow out Kentucky as well. But there's your top 25. Of course, let me know what you think in the comments section below.